When you see things like that, or people trying to say like you're a scammer, you're faking withdrawals, and then afterwards you showed FTMO, like, what are your thoughts when you read all these things or have these people's opinions?
So like, personally for me,
welcome everyone back to the Words of Wisdom podcast. We are back once again. We're still in Miami and we are joined by the one, the only, Mr. Lambo Raul.
Thank you for having me on, bro. It's an honor. Like I said before, I've been seeing your guys' page grow like crazy, and it's amazing that you invited me onto the podcast. I really appreciate this opportunity, bro.
It's my pleasure, man. And thank you for hosting us in
of course,
in
no
your
problem.
space, man. It's incredible, and I'd love to see it when it's like you got your events going and everything as well.
Yeah. Like the space right now is still a bit under construction, as as you could see, but it's a work in progress, like anything right now.
Definitely, man. And you know, a lot of people out there no doubt know who you are and a bit about your journey. But for those who don't, can you just give us a brief introduction to sort of how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so for those of you guys that don't know me, my name is Raul. I'm a full-time day trader. I own multiple online businesses, and I've been trading for roughly the last 6 years now or so. So I started day trading when I was 17. I opened up my first live account at 18 years old, and it's just been nonstop ever since then. You know, like a lot of people ask me all the time, like, oh, how did you get started? Well, honestly, with me, how I got started, I feel like it's a little bit of an unconventional story. So I was in high school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in my life because my dad always instilled, like, you got to start a business, you know, like, look what I have. You have to go out and get this on your own. Like, this is not easy, because a big misconception about me that a lot of people have is that everything was just handed to me by my dad. That's the one thing, because my dad, he is a very successful man, but he's always said to himself, like, I'm not a rich guy. I'm a hardworking individual. There's a big difference between being a rich guy and a very hardworking individual. Like, the biggest example that I had in my life was my dad, because I had seen him, you know, going from driving Ferraris to Porsches to then having to go through a divorce and having absolutely nothing, living back at his parents' house and starting from ground zero again to building the massive empire that my dad has now. And that was the example that was set for me very early on. So I took that and I basically ran with that example. And, you know, when I started trading, it wasn't really like I wanted to get into trading. So I was 17 years old. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I was really into like the military and different things like that. And I just saw, you know what, like maybe I'll go to the military for a few years and, you know, we'll just kind of see what happens after. I didn't really want to, because my dad, he's a dentist and he owns different investments, online businesses as well. I didn't really want to do that. It didn't really catch my interest. So I'm like, you know what, let's just go to the military, right? And when I was roughly like 16, turning 17 years old, really everything started at 15, but I was going to the hospital a lot for stomach pains. I'm telling you, like every single month I was in the hospital for probably like a week or 2 weeks, just staying there, having the doctors analyze me, and nobody found what was wrong with me for the first year. And I was going for like this horrible intestinal pain. And I couldn't explain like the type of pain. Like I remember one day I was walking from the lunchroom to my next class, which was a French class, right? And I was walking, and when I walked into that cafeteria, like the smell of the food, it was hurting my stomach, and I couldn't bear even just smelling the food. So as I was leaving the cafeteria, I remember this feeling. I'll never forget it. It literally felt like someone grabbed a knife and just like slashed my stomach open. It was the worst feeling I could possibly describe. I fell to the floor, and I don't know how, but I ended up walking myself to the classroom. Obviously, the teachers knew something was wrong, and I had to get wheelchaired out, and I was in the hospital. And after that, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I mean, I had a surgery, I had my appendix removed. I mean, I was probably like 130 pounds. I was anemic, and it was just like a really hard point in my life. And then obviously at that point in time, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease about a year later, right? And I found out that I couldn't join the military with Crohn's disease because you need constant treatment and you have flare-ups and different things along those lines. So it's like, what do I do next, right? So then I just literally looked up different ways to make money online. That's when I came upon stock trading. Then I came upon Forex, and that's how I kind of got introduced into this world. I bought my first course. I remember I had a motorcycle, right? I had a CBR 600, literally from 2001, that I spent all of my money on. Every single cent I had to my name, like $3,000, right? I spent it on that motorcycle. My parents like, nope, you're living under my house. You got to get rid of it. I was like, okay, well, I got rid of the bike. I had maybe $3,000 left again, right? I spent $1,500 on a course, and I put $500 into my live account. And ever since then, it's been like a nonstop game of learning how to trade and continuing to trade. That's kind of how I got started.
Definitely, and we'll start with that. So obviously, as you said there about your father, which I actually got to meet at the summit, which was incredible. I actually tried to say like, why don't you just come over? I wanted to, only because not even because of him, which obviously in his own right, as you said, a very successful person. It was literally because, and I said the same thing to Roy's father, the host of the FX Summit. I said the same thing because I want to hear their perspective of seeing what their sons have achieved, for the pod. But I didn't want to like be too pushy. Right?
No. My dad would have been honored. He's like the coolest guy you'll ever meet.
No, he seems it. No, 100%. He has such great energy, and he was so polite, and he doesn't even know who I am, but was so polite and welcoming as well. So But as you said, like there's a misconception, as you say, like there's a lot of chatter online. It's the usual case. It'll be like your father gave it you, or your father gave you all these opportunities. So when you hear that, and as you said that you went through your own journey. And you've seen your father go through his own journey. So it wasn't like your father was always where he was. You've seen him actually go back.
He completely went down to zero, living back at his parents' house. Imagine being, I think he was maybe like 30 something at the time. I was probably like 12 years old or so. So that would make him like, let's call it 42, right? Seeing a 42-year-old man go back to living at his parents' house, going through divorce and having 3 kids. And then building himself back from zero. That was like the biggest motivational story that I needed to see. It was right there in front of my face, in my family.
Wow. And what did that do for you in terms of experiencing that and witnessing that?
I mean, obviously as a kid, I didn't know it at the time. But after speaking to my dad about it and obviously like experiencing it and having those memories, it's really humbling. I have a lot of respect for my dad because for our family, he'll do anything, and he'll always put the family first. Now, obviously, like the biggest misconception that obviously a lot of people have had is like, oh, he's handed us everything. That's just simply not the case. It would have made life obviously a lot easier, but yeah, it just wasn't the case. Like I know my story. Now he's helped me a lot. He's guided me in the right ways, how to save money, how to invest money, what to do with my money. But it wasn't like, oh, here, son, here's $25,000. Go ahead, go do whatever you want with it. It wasn't just like that, as many people would probably assume, like the typical rich dad or trust fund kid online. Like I said again, like I think the people that have the misconception of that is just simply because they don't know. They don't know how much hard work I put it in. My dad says all the time, like everything that I have, I was able to get on my own solely through my own hard work efforts. And it kind of just shows because I'm in a completely different industry than my dad is. And like when we talk about like some of the numbers that I pull in, he's like, damn, that's crazy.
I can imagine.
So yeah.
It's interesting you say that actually, because normally it's the case where, when people come from money, no one knows where the money is, right? They don't know who the parents are. While your father, obviously, as you said, is vocal and you see him around. I've met him myself. And for him to then reinforce what you're saying isn't usually the case then, because normally if it is the case where he's giving you the money, they would probably turn around and be like, no, I gave him that,
Yeah, no, of course. And I think, honestly, like, he did his job right. You know what I mean? Because now that I'm also a father, I want my kids to also be the kids that are like, oh, that's just daddy's money. You know what I mean? Because to me, it's like, that's the parents doing their job and going above and beyond for their kids. And when you have your kids being called, oh, your dad has all this money, this, and that, it's like, he's providing, he's doing well.
Well, congratulations, by the way. I was going to lead on to that eventually, but yeah, congratulations. What's it been like, obviously, having your child?
It's crazy, honestly. I mean, holding my daughter for the first time was the most humbling experience, and it just gives me more purpose. You know what I mean? Because now it's not just about like going and getting the next best car or the next nicest watch or the nicest house. Now it's like I want to provide and give the best life possible, the best quality of life possible to my family, to my daughter. I want to be able to put her in the best schools and just make sure she's going to be good. So that's like the purpose that I have right now. It's not just about me anymore, it's about the little one.
And so if you felt that shift then, so before that was coming, you would have been probably thinking about buying these next things.
Oh, 100%.
But now you've seen the shift of, okay, let me stop doing that or avert from there.
100%. Like, I was actually really contemplating about buying one of my dream cars, which was a McLaren Senna. And for those of the people that follow me and that are really close to me, they know that's like my ultimate dream car. And I was so close. I'm telling you, I had the deal set up on the table. All I had to do was sign and send the wire. And I stopped myself because it's like, right now I'm living in a rental because I sold my last property for a big profit. And it's like, no, I need to get my family at home. You know, I need my daughter to have stability in her life. So I put essentially my goals, my wishes to the side for, you know, my daughter, my wife, the baby.
No, definitely. And one thing actually, to revert back to your father, for example, do you think it was beneficial for you to have the experience of some form of success as well? Have the example of success?
100%.
But then also, like with the cars, for example, like if your dad had a car, you were able to then, people talk about the law of attraction, right? 100%. And they say, go experience it, While most people don't have maybe a chance to experience it at that level. Do you think that was helpful for you to have already 100%. Experienced these things?
100%. I remember because this was maybe a few years ago. I had a Lamborghini Huracan and I was going through my own success. I was making maybe decent money at the time. I was making probably like $30,000 or so monthly, and the car note cost me for the Lamborghini Huracan like $3,500 a month. And my dad had gotten himself a brand new Lamborghini Aventador with red interior. It was absolutely beautiful. And I remember one day I took it out for a drive and I'm like, wow, like I'm gonna do whatever it takes so that I can afford this on my own. That's like another moment that I'll never forget, because not just seeing him accomplish what he's been able to accomplish, but like him being able to just go and grab himself an Aventador without even having to think about it was just like so motivating for me. And it really put like this fire under me where it's like, I thought I was doing great. You know what I mean? I was maybe 20 years old. I had a brand new Lamborghini at that time, paying $3,500 a month for it. And I was making maybe like, I don't know, like almost $400,000 a year at that point in time. I'm like, bro, like there's so many more levels to reach. And just seeing my dad being like way up here and I'm like way down here and driving his car, I'm like, I need to be able to afford one of these. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get to that point.
Amazing. And going back to obviously having a child now, I've seen you're very, you're very family oriented anyway, but you bring your family with you to events.
Yeah,
like
of course.
You brought your family here, for example.
Of course.
So you brought your family to the summit, for example.
Yeah.
And I see on your social media as well, like you're always traveling with your family as well.
Yeah.
How important is the family to you? And obviously, you're still not changing necessarily. At the end of the day, you haven't had to change your schedule. Then you're making sure they're included in your schedule as well.
Yeah, of course. So, I'm very blessed to have the family that I had. My mom, my sister, they were at the summit helping out with the booths, making sure everybody was okay, making sure everybody's needs were met too. You know what I mean? And that's something that my dad instilled on me. I recently got married as well on December 28th last year. And honestly, getting married and being with my wife has allowed me to mature a lot quicker than I have, because I feel like I was on a very, I don't want to say destructive path, but it was just a very selfish path. Like last year I was out partying like crazy, and I really like, not that my goals weren't in line and I wasn't focused, but it was just more like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. You know what I mean? And I didn't mind going and blowing $40,000 on a weekend, literally just going out and having fun. You know what I mean? And going back on it, like, not that I regret it, because life is an experience, but definitely now that I have a family and now that I'm married, I'm in a better road.
It gives you that responsibility.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I have to honestly give a lot of thank you to my wife, because she's been able to help me realize the mistakes that I've done in my past and how I can avoid those same mistakes. And again, like, I've only been able to level up so much harder because of her and because of her being by my side, obviously helping me with, or essentially me helping her with the baby, but also just like the family morals that she has. You know what I mean? She's been able to allow me to mature a lot quicker, because like, I don't want to say I wasn't happy with the person that I was before, but I've definitely gone through a big change and I've been changing a lot, and that's because of her. So I really do have to thank her for that.
No, incredible. Because that's a common question I try to ask people when they are married or have a long-term partner, is that how important that is in terms of change or success.
Oh, it's so important. I feel like you need that stability. in your life, because it's only going to allow you to grow everywhere else.
And we see in society nowadays this huge sort of narrative of the stay away from the family, you know, have as many partners as you want and have the fun, for example. And yet it's quite unique for you to be, you're quite young, right? You're still quite young.
Yeah.
You're only
24.
24, exactly. So like to be married at 24, let alone have a child as well. You know, how's that, as you already talked about how it shaped you, but what are your thoughts when you see this narrative of the other side?
The Skilled Challenge is finally here. Enjoy the lowest profit targets in the industry through our Skilled Challenge, which is only requiring a 6% profit target. Yes, you heard that right. Not only that, but enjoy 85% profit split as well as 125% challenge-free refund. All part of the best product on the market. You get to choose your drawdown between 8 or 10% through our toggle option, so you choose how much drawdown you'd like. Take advantage of the Skilled Challenge today. Wow, the Skilled Challenge looks incredible. As part of this special episode, SFT is doing 20% off all 10% virtual drawdown challenges, so make sure you use the code RIZ20 with the link in the description below and start your challenge. Let's get back to the episode.
In like looking at my own life right now, I mean, it's a little bit of a different story. I never really expected to get married at 24, but there's been certain life events that have shown me that my wife is the one that I need in my life. And I actually met her back in 2020. We dated for a little bit, kind of on and off. And we stopped talking for about a period of a year. And then we actually started talking again. And like I said, like there's been a few life events that have happened in my life where I feel like anybody else would have just been like, I'm not even going to go anywhere near this guy. You know what I mean? And she was always there, no matter what. And I know like a lot of people online, like, they're very critical about somebody with money and then the person they're with. But to me, that was never a question, because, I mean, my wife, she's an influencer. She has a lot of famous people that follow her, to say the least. I mean, athletes worth hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, who are willing to give her everything plus more. And she's always been by my side, never folded, not once. So, like I said, again, after all of those experiences going through that with her, she's always been by my side. I knew, like, this was the one that I need to lock down. I want to start a family with, you know, and it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
Definitely, no, and it's incredible to hear. And, you know, in regards to social media, you know, especially not only in the trading space, but also generally, it's a very toxic environment.
100%.
Right, very toxic environment. And so what's it like, and the thought process then of sort of like sharing quite a lot, you know, how, like the family, for example, or even your daughter, for example, what's your thought process around that?
I mean, I find social media as a way to document. You know, so like, especially like early on with all of my FTMO videos, seeing like the payouts, the $30,000 payout, the $100,000 payout, you know what I mean? It's nice to look back and see where I was then and compared to where I am now, and if there's been any growth along the way. But I mean, with social media, I don't really have like an issue with, you know, sharing my personal life. Plus, I feel like people need to understand that, like, I'm also human too. And because I feel like there's a big misconception that a lot of people have. It's like that I'm super unreachable, that I'm like this person that a lot of people like put on a pedestal. But it's like, you know, I also live my life. Like, it's the only difference is I just work super hard and I just try and provide the best I can. But I mean, with social media, like, especially when it comes to my wife, like, that's something that she's always done in the past. I mean, she was a huge YouTuber, so it's not like anything has changed for her. And for me, the only difference now is that I share my family life and I share my relationship. That's really like the only difference. The one thing that I do like dislike is I know you have a bunch of fake pages too, for sure, right? They use pictures of me and my family on those fake pages to scam others. That boils my blood when I see it, because it's like, what a disgusting type of person you have to be to use pictures of like an innocent little girl who's just born into the world to try and go literally scam people for their hard-earned money for absolutely no reason. Like, it's just that's one thing that does like get me mad. But other than that, it's like, I like documenting, you know?
Definitely. No, and you're completely right, you know, that it's absolutely insane that people would do that. You know, and just generally making fake profiles is terrible.
Yeah, but you know what, to be honest, like, I feel like the people that allow themselves to get scammed by these individuals are just simply ignorant. Because especially in my case, like, I say it all the time, like, this is my only page. And not just that, I'm verified. You know, so if you see John Wick 32, you know what I'm talking about with my pictures that says Lambo Raul on them, you're going to allow yourself to get scammed by this individual. It's kind of like, I know a lot of people aren't tech savvy, but it's kind of like,
I know, yeah.
You know?
Well, think about it. If you're trying to get into the trading space, but you're getting caught out like that, you probably shouldn't be in the trading space.
Yeah, literally.
You know? Especially if, like you said, John Wick for you. Imagine if it was John Wick for me or John Smith for me.
Yeah, 100%.
With the way I look, and they still fall for it. You know,
Yeah,
it's
bro.
insane.
100%. Yeah, and like the thing with the trading space, a lot of people try and get in, and it's like, I get asked questions all the time. It's like, you can't expect to be spoon-fed everything in this industry. Like, you're entering industries with hedge funds, institutions, big algorithms, other retail traders who've been at this for years, and you expect it to not just be easy, but then to be spoon-fed everything, and you expect to turn like a few $100s into millions of dollars. Like, people just have the wrong expectations when coming into this community. That's literally what I tell them all the time. You know, like, if you really want to make it in this industry, like, you have to put in the work. You can't be ignorant, you know?
No, definitely. And, you know, we were talking about the social media side in terms of like the toxic side and people's opinions. Obviously, I'm sure you've had it for a long period of time, probably especially on social media. At the end of the day, like, your name on social media is Lambo Raul, and we all know that the Lambo lifestyle is something that some people aspire towards, but then some people hate upon.
Of course.
Right? There's a tweet I read this morning, which was interesting timing-wise, but they were saying, like, they had your pictures. And
Yeah, I can imagine.
Did you see it? I don't know if you saw it, but it's like...
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, your pictures, and it was like, this is not what you need. If anyone who's trying to promote this, you know, pictures with Lamborghinis and cars, you shouldn't be there. So look at my page, and then they were referring to themselves, which was interesting.
Yeah.
But like, when you see things like that, or people trying to say like you're a scammer, or people trying to say you're a fake trader, I saw one of your your highlights where you said like, faking withdrawals, and then afterwards you showed FTMO.
Yeah.
But like, what are your thoughts when you read all these things or have these people's opinions?
So, like, personally for me, the only reason I started an Instagram page was because what I saw Instagram at the time, this was maybe like 2017, was literally just people just posting their cars. I'm a huge car enthusiast, always have been, always will been, and people literally had different names such as like GTR Eddie or R35 this, you know what I mean? And it's just a page to showcase their cars. And that's literally why I started an Instagram. I had a Mustang at the time, and I was literally just posting pictures of my Mustang, right? And then I ended up getting a GTR after making some money, you know, and then I changed my name to Raul GTR. Because why? Because the page is to showcase the GTR, but my name is Raul. And then one day, this was a few years later, after I had my Huracan, it's like, bro, why are you Raul GTR on Instagram? Or this was my friend Ryan, he told me this. He's like, why are you Raul GTR on Instagram? I'm like, you don't even post a GTR anymore. And I'm like, you're kind of right. So that's when I changed it to Lambo Raul, because I was mainly showcasing the Huracan. And I never really thought my Instagram page would turn into what it is today. Like, I literally just broke 550,000 followers on Instagram. It's crazy. I get like 70,000 story views a day. It's absolutely insane. I never thought I would get to this point on social media. But I was just posting literally just pictures of my car, appreciating essentially the art of what it is, of what this machine is, because some cars are just put together so well, especially with the performance and the looks. And to me, that's always been like one thing that I've always wanted to work hard for, is, you know what I mean? Is to have a nice car. And it's not just to like flex or anything on social media for anybody, you know? It's just like, I really appreciate not just I don't know if I want to call it the corporation, but, you know, the people that were able to put that car together, but then my own hard work
and everything,
as well. Of course, I mean, there's just so much that goes into building a car, such as like the SVJ. It's absolutely insane. So, you know, I really get to appreciate both ends of the spectrum, the people that built the car, and then my hard work for being able to obtain this specific individual car. Now, obviously, my social media has definitely grown throughout the years. You know, I have my page where I solely just post education, things that'll benefit people for trading. But Lambo Raul, like, that's my personal page. You know what I mean? And a lot of the people that talk about, oh, you know, like, don't follow this and that, it's like, yeah, I can agree to an extent, because there are a lot of people who will post the same type of content that I post, but don't know absolutely jack shit about trading, have never even placed a single trade in their life. And I've had and been friends with some of these individuals where they've admitted to me, after showing like a $100,000 a day and having a Lamborghini or a Rolls Royce, they're like, bro, I've never placed a trade in my life. And looked at that individual, and I immediately, like, bro, I completely stopped associating myself with them because I don't want to be associated with that. Because to me, in my career, I've put so many hours of work, not just in like content or anything, but in trading, that I don't want to be associated to somebody that is literally just faking it so they can make money off of whatever else they want to do. Which, if you're not a trader, in my opinion, like, that's fine. There's still money to be made in the trading industry, just not in the educational space, because you have no real value to provide. Like, you can look at Angelo from The Funded Trader, and he's running a multi-million-dollar corporation, and he said trading just wasn't for him. So what did he do? He went to business to solve a solution for other traders, and now he's making millions of dollars because of it. And again, like, Angelo's another person that I look up to and I applaud, because I remember he came down here to meet with me because we were working out some form of a deal where he had this one company that allowed a certain individual to manage a bunch of funded accounts, right? And he presented that opportunity to me, and I went with it. I'm like, okay, yeah, perfect. Like, let's do this, right? And after passing like the first and second phase, I think it was like I would have had like 27 million under management or something along those lines. Wow. So I passed like $27 million worth of challenge and stage 2 accounts. The company said, no, we can't handle this. You know what I mean? So we
actually discussed this when I had him on the podcast. Yeah. We discussed that situation on the podcast when I had him on. So it's interesting.
Yeah. And the company was like, no, and I guess that's what, he ran with. You know what I mean? And the other people, I decided not to associate myself with them because, again, like, I feel a lot of transparency out when it comes to, like, even just my withdrawals. Like, as you and I both know, FTMO has been a corporation open for many, many years now, and I was one of the first, if not the first people to get a 6-figure payout. And at that time, the biggest account size was only $300,000. So I was able to, in total, I had made $170,000 of profit on the account, but then I took some losses and realized 140 grand worth of profits at the end of the 30 days. And with the 70% profit split, I made like $104,000 what my payout was. And not just anybody could do that out of luck. That takes real skill, and that alone should have showed you. And imagine that was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So I now have an extra 3 years of experience from those days. And that wasn't even just like my first payout from FTMO. I had been getting payouts 15, 20, 30, 40, even $50,000 from FTMO. And again, all of that I have it all on my website too.
Well, interesting enough, obviously, as you can imagine, we're doing research beforehand to think about what questions or topics to talk about. And of course. That's why I went through your highlight, for example. And one of my guys actually, he's over there. Yeah, one of my guys was on Twitter. And they actually, you remember with FTMO, you could post the stats, right? So he pulled up the stats of the 100,000 withdrawals. Website, so I was looking at it. I could see, obviously, I think you'd done a bit of drawdown, bit of break even to begin with. Went up to, I think it was 20, came back to break even. Zero, right? Back to zero. And then it went up. And then you had like 30K days, followed by like 10K days, lost days, 30K days. So I saw the whole thing. And so it's there. And then you documented it on YouTube as well. So like when you see these people, because everyone now, obviously back then the prop space wasn't as big as it is now, right? Of course. But the prop space now is massive, and a lot of people put weight into people's payouts.
Of course.
So then when you hear people say that you're a fake trader or faking withdrawals, but yet then you have this documentation from before.
Exactly. Like, that's because a lot of people can say whatever they want about like trading on an unregulated brokerage. You know what I mean, with the fake withdrawals and all that other stuff. But I even go as far to the extent as showing the withdrawal. Like, for example, I'm in the process of recording a YouTube video right now. So we had spoke about it previously. On Thursday, I had closed out of a position of $134,000. I withdrew $107,500 from the trading account. And on the YouTube video, you literally, even on my Instagram story, I posted it. You literally see me do an internal transfer from the trading account all the way to my wallet. From the wallet inside of the brokerage, the funds actually getting approved for the withdrawal and it then landing into my crypto wallet. So I go that full route of transparency. I can even go as far as showing the bank statement. Here it is on my bank statement, right? But you know what it is? I find like even with all of that transparency, and by the way, those are things you can't do on an account that is essentially fake. You can't even show the money hit a wallet inside of the brokerage because it's all just fake. So I go to those lengths to show transparency because I've had multiple 6-figure days and I've done this multiple times. And you could go through my YouTube channel and look at multiple of those YouTube videos and see the entire withdrawal process as well. What I've come to the realization is somebody that is doing better than you the majority of the times will never talk bad about you. So a lot of those people, it's just because they haven't been able to achieve what I've achieved, you know. And I mean, I put myself in a situation, in their situation at least, you know what I mean? Because like I see a lot of those people and they're pulling maybe like $4, $5, $6, $7, $10,000 worth of profit sometimes. A lot of these guys, like they show those types of profits, and some of them are older, some of them are younger than me, but a lot of them have like 7, 8 years worth of trading under the belt, and I'm probably have 6 years of experience going on to 7 now, and they still haven't been able to get to where I'm at in terms of maybe social media, in terms of maybe the type of income made from trading. You know what I mean? So a lot of it can be seen as either envy or jealousy. To me, it doesn't really bother me. I mean, people are gonna have their opinions at the end of the day. I know what I'm doing is fully transparent, and at least what I could say is like the money that I've made from trading, what I've showcased has been always legitimate. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's just more money for me, you know, because like I can get a lot of these guys, like I know people who have posted like $150,000 days, and I know it's fake for sure. It's like, well, it's fake income. Like that's literally monopoly money. At least like, you know, when I show like a $20,000 day, $30,000 day, it's real. I'm putting that in my pocket. Like you're not really going anywhere with it. You're just trying to make other money from probably some course that you're selling or whatever the case might be is. So I know that everything that I've done has been fully transparent as possible, and my community sees it. And not even just that, it's like even the education that I've taught through my community, like I was telling you earlier, I had 2 students last year. My educational program has only been open for around a year now, a little bit over. It's probably like a year and a half now, but within the first year, we've had 2 students completely quit their 9-to-5 jobs and become full-time day traders. Like my most recent student who did quit his 9-to-5 job and become a full-time day trader, he ended up getting a payout for $45,000, and then he ended up making $45,000 in a day and getting paid out, I forgot how many thousands of dollars, but it was around like the $50,000 range. So he ended up making $90,000 within a span of 2 months. And that's like a few weeks after completing my entire educational program, and obviously being there and putting in all the work. I don't want to say it's like it's super easy. You come, you take this, and then you're immediately going to be successful. You know, we both know that that's not the case. You know, you have to put in the work, right? And I mean, it just goes to show, and I've had tons of students get payouts in the $30,000 range, $15,000 range. And that's the entire thing that I go by, is also my students' success as well. You know, the investment that they make into me, they get back plus way more. You know, and it just shows. And he quit his 9-to-5 job. What he normally made in a year, he doubled that in the span of 60 days, which is absolutely fantastic. And I'll always applaud him for that, because now he's an inspiration to other people who are just getting into the industry as well.
Definitely. And what is the motivation then, obviously, in terms of like teaching?
Let's take a break for a minute there, guys, because I want to tell you about our other sponsor, TradeZeller. Now, TradeZeller is something I only wished I had during my journey, because I would have saved myself so much time and, more importantly, money, because TradeZeller is the greatest automated journaling software on the market. That's right, automated. All you have to do is connect your MetaTrader 4, MetaTrader 5, and it will pull up all of your data with all your statistics. It goes so in depth, from obviously your losses, the days, the times. It allows you to bar replay, so you can actually see that trade as if it was live. Absolutely incredible. It's an absolute game changer for everyone's trading journey. Without data, how can you make a statistical edge? I went through so much time without collecting data, without journaling. And why was that? Because most people find journaling very tedious, when in reality, why not have it automated and all done for you? All you do is just add the notes. As part of TradeZeller, you also have playbooks. So if you have different entry drills, you can list them all out so you can categorize your trades. TradeZeller is for everyone, whether you trade options, whether you trade Forex, whether you trade prop firms, or even just your own personal account. It is here to revolutionize the trading journey. Make sure you click the link in the description below and use the code RIZ10 for 10% off. Go take a look at the link in the description. Let's get back to the episode.
As part of this special episode, TradeZeller has agreed to do 20% off your yearly subscription with the code WOR. Level up your trading experience and, more importantly, your trading stats and data. This is your opportunity. 20% off. Link is in the description. Let's get back to the episode.
For me, right now, teaching is just a way for me to sharpen my edge, and it's just so I'm not doing anything. because what I find is after having especially like these super large days, like 100K days, like I don't want to continue to trade. I just want to like live my life. You know, if I want to wake up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then I can wake up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So teaching right now gives me a responsibility, and it also keeps me involved in the markets a lot more. Not just that, to me, teaching is a win-win situation because all of the content and the educational value that I'm providing to these traders, I know I'm guiding them in the right path. And even from somebody, you know, looking out, right? They may not know, but I know that, you know, everything that I'm putting out there is going to help somebody reach their goals, because obviously me and you both know that there's a bunch of people who teach, who sell courses that don't know what they're talking about, right? So for me, it's like, I know you're in good hands. You know, I trade real capital every single day. I put my money. And that's one thing that aggravates me too. It's like, you know how hard I have to work and how hard it is to hold some of these positions to get those big 6-figure days. So for me to finally like be like, guys, look, this is motivation for you guys. I was able to accomplish this. For someone to go do that and it be completely fake and get the same recognition, bro, that just like aggravates me. I'm not the type of guy to go on social media, yo, this is all fake, this is it, and this is why. But it's just aggravating, you know what I mean? Because it's like, imagine you putting in all of this hard work and some guys doing essentially the same thing, but it's completely fake, you know? So like I was saying before, for me, like, teaching right now is a win-win situation because I'm able to provide and help other people while also having a different stream of income for myself that completely takes the pressure off of my own trading. Like, I don't even trade every single day anymore. I literally only trade Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with my community because I don't have the need to trade anymore. Like, I just made 134 grand on Thursday. I don't need to be getting back into the markets for no reason. Before, my trading income, a lot of it went to, some of it went into paying expenses, but a lot of it went into investing into other businesses and having other investments. And now that I have that, it's just like, I realistically don't need to trade anymore to make money. Now what I'm trading for is literally just to have income to set aside to, again, go invest into this property. Or maybe, hey, I'm going to put an extra $250,000 into Leveled Up for our traders, et cetera, you know? So for me, education right now is just a win-win situation for both myself and for both my students because I get to help them out and achieve their goals.
Definitely. So like, obviously we have the different separations there. So how much, let's say last year, did you make from trading?
So I did have a 7-figure month in August last year when I was trading the S&P 500. I want to say, I don't want to give like an exact number because like I could talk about income and all this and that a lot, but I did make roughly over probably 2.5, before tax, 2.5 is what I made. And the thing about trading futures, I don't trade futures, I trade indices. But the way I traded, the way we taxed my income was on a 60-40 split. So 60% of that income was actually taxed in long-term capital gains tax. The other was taxed, the 40% was taxed in short-term capital gains tax. That's how much I made basically trading last year. I didn't trade throughout the summer, and then my performance wasn't the best on Q2 either. I did really well on Q1 and Q4, and a little bit better on Q3.
And then how about income-wise from the education side?
I also did 7 figures in education as well. Yeah, that's the one thing I like about the educational space because a lot of people is like, okay, well, if you make so much money trading, like, why do you sell a course? Well, it's like, if I can make 2.5 trading and I can make another 2.5 with education, not just am I only helping people, but I'm able to also increase my income. I've essentially made $5 million in that 1 year alone by trading and helping other people, you know, versus just $2.5 million just from trading alone. But I also think having trading as your only stream of income as well is super unrealistic because you and I both know the pressure that's involved with trading, and I couldn't imagine having trading be my only stream of income because then I have to worry about trading paying every single one of my bills, you know? So having other streams of income really takes that pressure off of myself. And I think anybody who's aspiring to be a full-time day trader, you shouldn't quit your 9-to-5 job right away when you start seeing money. Go invest into another business, go invest into a side hustle that'll replace that 9-to-5 income where you can then quit your 9-to-5 job and move on and so forth, and you have multiple streams of income. I don't know if you've heard the saying, but I think the quote is like your average millionaire has 7 streams of income, so why do you only have one? Have one, you know? And on top of that, like when it comes to trading, the market is gonna go through different cycles at all times. How the markets are trading now aren't gonna be how the market's gonna be trading in 6 months. So your system could be doing amazing now, but could be finding a lot of drawdown within the next 6 months, and it may take you some time to realize that and then adapt to the new market conditions, and you're going to be in drawdown and you're going to be under a lot of stress. That's why I always say, like, you want to have multiple sources of income anyways.
Definitely. And we'll go into the trading now, because we haven't really touched on the actual sort of trading part of the journey then from, well, near the beginning. You mentioned obviously when you started, you paid $1,500 for a course and then $500 into a live account. So what was the process after that point? Where did you go from there, those beginning steps?
I remember my first trade that I placed on my live account, like the course that I took, the risk management was, they didn't teach risk management. They told you this, if you have this amount of money in your account, this is what lot size you should be using, which is not risk management. So I thought you had to place like 10 trades in a day, like minimum. So I took my first trade and I made like $50. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like I'm already up 10% on my account. Like this is crazy. All right, let's go on to the next 9 trades, you know? Complete wrong mindset. But ever since then, it's like every day nonstop. Every day nonstop. I watched that course, I took a few courses, read books, YouTube videos, did the whole things. Never really had like a mentor like what I provide to my community where I could guide someone in the direction. Never had someone answer my questions either. A lot of it was just like personal research or through trial and error. And I really wish someone told me how important keeping a trading journal was back then, because I feel like I would have found profitability a lot earlier on. That's something I push to my community, and even like, just like my YouTube channel, my Telegram, like you need to be able to track your statistics, because in your statistics, you'll be able to see the bad habits that are causing you from potentially being profitable or potentially getting you out of that break-even phase or potentially even getting you to that break-even phase. You'll find a lot of that. And I feel like a lot of people are focused on really doing right as much as possible, but they're not focused on removing and eliminating making mistakes. They're like, how can I increase my win rate? It's like, okay, well, you know, I could find better entries. I could maybe use lower stop losses, blah, 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 this and that. But it's not like, how can I stop taking so many losses? You know? So I didn't realize that early on in my trading journey. So I feel like my trading journey was a little bit more difficult because I didn't even know where risk management was, because I was obviously going from the risk management from that course. So a lot of it was just kind of like gambling and over leveraging. And honestly, my trading journey really came down to a lot of trial and error and experience. I mean, I showed up to the charts every single day. At that point in time, because I was sick so many days, the school decided to just, you know what, like, they literally said, you're not even in school, right? You're literally in the hospital the majority of the time. We think it's best, like, you go and get into online school. So I went into online school, and I didn't have any friends either at the time. And I literally dedicated all of my time. When I tell you all of my time, like, I was playing Counter-Strike on my free time, and I was trading and studying my other free time. I did think I burnt myself out a lot. I was probably on the charts, studying, taking the course, and actively trading maybe like 6 to 8 hours a day. Wow. Every single day for like the first like 3 years. For the first 3 years. And it was a lot of trial and error, and it was a really difficult journey. It was a really difficult journey, I'll tell you that for sure.
Definitely. And in terms of like the journey then with the trading, the scaling, because obviously you're getting to the point now where you're talking about 6-figure days and 7-figure months. But what was the scaling like? Because you started with $500. So what was that process from there?
So the $500, I mean, I immediately blew it. At that time, I was helping my dad with his business. I was an employee at his business. I was selling products, and I'd make a commission for selling those products. So that's how I was making my income at that time. And I would invest like every dollar that I had into a trading account. And I remember there was this one time where I actually had like maybe like 30 grand to my name, and I put $20,000 into a trading account, and those $20,000 I turned into like $120,000 in like 3 weeks. Obviously, over leveraging and over risking. I don't want anybody watching this to think that that's like something that's sustainable and they should achieve for. So then my scaling and my profitability was a little bit different, because what I realized was, although I was consistently getting income from trading, I was also blowing accounts at the same time. So to give you the example, the way I found that I was consistently profitable was I would turn 20,000 into 120,000, right? I withdrew like 50 grand, so I made my $20,000 back plus an extra $30,000, but then I would blow that account. Okay. Then I'd be like, oh my God, great. You know what? Let's just go in with 10 grand this time. $10,000, I would turn $10,000 into $30,000, withdraw 20, I left 10 in there because it's like, okay, this $10,000 is purely profit. I pulled out my 10 and I pulled out an extra 10 of profit. I would maybe I remember with that specific account, that $10,000 account, I ran it back up into like $40,000. I withdrew 20. So that's like the first account that I have for like, okay, you know, this account's lasted like 2 months already, but then I blew it right away. It's like, why do I keep blowing these accounts? And you know what my problem was? It was one day. I would fuck it all up in one day because I would try to overtrade. And what I would find is in my overtrading, I'm just trying to make those losses back. So at that point in time, it's like, okay, I need to take a break for a second. I need to analyze what I'm doing wrong. And that time I actually started getting into journaling because I found like how crucial journaling was. And that's where I realized that mistake. I was giving all of that back in a span of a day, literally weeks upon weeks of hard work, being as patient as I possibly can, waiting for my setups to play out. I was giving it all back in one day. Now, obviously, like, thank God I was actually withdrawing because that's a big problem that a lot of people don't do is they do not withdraw. They don't pay themselves. Thank God I was actually withdrawing. That's what kept me in the game, right? So from there, at that point on, once I realized that mistake, it was a lot smoother of a road. I actually went in with basically like all the money that I had at that time, which was maybe like 50 grand. And that's when I started to find profitability with a $50,000 account. And then shortly after, I mean, I was able to pay my bills that I had, my little bills that I had. You know, I had my car at that time, my phone bill, and little things like that, such as along those lines. Then I had a big breakthrough. I had a $30,000 trading day. This was trading USD JPY. I forgot what type of economic data came out at that point in time, but the markets absolutely died. The markets absolutely died. And I made $30,000 in that day, and it was just, from there, it was literally just a nice, smooth way up. And then after that, that's kind of when I started getting into the educational space. I started showcasing profits online and doing little things such as that, such as those things. Because in my trading career, like I said, I wanted my Instagram page to document. I would show my trades, like, you know, $1,000 here, $2,000 there. You know what I mean? At the end of the month, I would make maybe like $30,000, but I never made like $30,000 in the span of a day. And once I did that, I knew it was a lot of my hard work was actually finally starting to pay off.
Definitely. So first of all, like the 50K, for example. Sorry, no, the 20K. So you saved up 30, put 20 in, flipped it to 120. Before you had put the 20 in, though, had you sort of been trial and error? You've been...
Oh, yeah, I've been trading this entire time. I've been trading this entire time. This was like nonstop.
Okay, so then you've seen some sort of confidence to then say, okay, now I've saved this amount.
Yeah, for sure. Like I was trading like super small accounts, like $1,000, $2,000, just to build up some consistency. Once I found that consistency, it's like, okay, let's go in a little bit heavier. Then let's say I had a $1,000 account, I remember. I was able to successfully maintain that account for the span of like 60 days. It's like, okay, I'm gonna put $5 grand in.
Okay.
Then I had a $6,000 account. I wasn't really paying too much attention to the profits because I had blown like 4 or 5 like $1,000 accounts. And I was like, damn, bro, that's like $5 grand that I just lost, right? And that's what people also need to be careful with. Like, it's like if you're constantly investing like $1,000 and you're just blowing them and blowing them and blowing them, although that account might not be a lot, I mean, those losses compound fairly quickly. That's what a lot of people need to be careful with. And that's basically how I would just continue to go into the market. So as I was being more consistent, I would continue to fund my account, which I feel like a lot of people don't do. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't realize that like trading is an investment that you can make for either long-term or short-term. And even if you do have a 9-to-5 job and you have a trading account, it doesn't matter what size account you have, you actively want to be investing into that account until you have a good amount of cushion in the account where your account could survive the drawdowns of your trading system.
Yes. So then when you got to the point where you had the 50K account and you used that from there, was there a case where you were still sort of using over leveraging, or were you
I cut down on the over leveraging a lot because I realized, I mean, after like a year, I realized this is not sustainable. Like, there's no way I'm going to be able to be having a $50,000 account risking like $10,000 a trade. It's just not sustainable. This risk management system I was taught didn't work. So that's when I started to realize, okay, like, let's actually start risking normal amounts of money. $50,000. How much do I not care about losing on a single trade? You know what? If I lose $2,000 on this trade, it's not the end of the world. I still have $48,000 in my account. If I lose maybe 10 of those trades in a row, I know I'm in trouble. So what if I lose 5 trades in a row of those $2 grand and then I cut the risk even more? You know, that's when I really started to think. My brain really started to activate.
Was that the journaling that allowed you to then do that?
Yep.
Yeah. Have you, journaling-wise, what was your process for journaling?
So journaling then, I would be taking screenshots of the positions before and after, obviously, and then I would basically break down the entire reason as to why I'm taking this trade. And obviously my journaling has gotten better throughout the years as better journaling softwares came out. And I would really try and find at that time I didn't know, these terminologies, like really try and exploit the edge in the markets and really made sure that the trade had a high probability of winning in my direction. Like, it's just so many different things that you pick up along the years, like understanding what risk to reward is, risk management, understanding probabilities, having an edge in the market. Does your system have an edge in the market? Different things along those lines.
Definitely. And then where did the prop firm side come in, FTMO wise?
Yeah, so like I said, like I've already been, once I got into like the prop firm space, I had already been profitable. I was making a good amount of money from trading. I was probably pulling in maybe like 30,000, 40,000 on a really good month trading. On the low end, obviously, it could have been a losing month or even a break-even month. So the reason why I even got into prop firms was to just establish my legitimacy as a trader. Obviously, because I was kind of coming up on the social media space, which I didn't realize it as being a social media space. I just saw it as, again, like somewhere where I could document and showcase my hard work, But I feel like maybe that could have just been like a little bit of a immature mindset of mine, because I didn't really think about turning it into a business then, So again, I went into the FTMO space to verify my legitimacy, because if I'm showing these profits now and I go into a funded account where essentially you have a 5% maximum daily loss and a 10% maximum loss, if I can show people that I'm also getting paid out here, like there's no questioning it. The track record is there. So that's kind of when I got into the FTMO space, and I also saw it as a good way for individuals who maybe didn't have as much capital to their name but had the skill to be able to make more money. So again, it was another win-win situation for myself. Not only am I able to verify my legitimacy as a day trader, someone who actually makes money from day trading, but I'm also able to show people that, hey, like this is a thing. Like you guys can come on and take this challenge and make money potentially. Right? So that's kind of when the whole FTMO era started for me personally. And it went great. For my first challenge, I didn't really understand the rules too much. I ended up losing that first challenge, which was nothing crazy. It was a $600 loss for myself. But then my second challenge, I ended up making like $15,000, which covered the cost of my first challenge, plus that challenge, because I got all that money back, plus more, you know what I mean? But it's kind of unfortunate because FTMO had grown so much since then. I mean, now they offer $400,000, and at that time they only had $300K with a 70% profit split. So I feel like I could have definitely made a lot more if the rules that are there now were there then.
Definitely. And what was there a change in thought process compared to trading your personal than going to the prop?
Honestly, it felt like less pressure to me, because it wasn't my money. Like, it's like, okay, even if I lose like this challenge 5 times in a row, let's call it 10 times in a row, and I lose $6,000. If I get a payout for $30,000, I just covered all of my costs plus profit. You know what I mean? So luckily, I never got to that point where I was losing thousands upon thousands of dollars in challenges like I know a lot of individuals struggle with, but that's just because they have the wrong mindset in the markets. Like, you can't just go and take a challenge not being profitable expecting to make a ton of money.
This is what I was
going to
say,
I mean?
yeah.
Like, that's absolutely ridiculous, right?
Because you had the profitability first, then came to it.
Of course, right? That's why I never lost thousands upon thousands of dollars on these challenges. Like, the way, if I would have, God forbid, I had to completely restart again. The very first thing that I would do, well, I mean, it's different because I already know how to trade. I make money trading. But say I didn't, right? I would fund my own trading account and literally just look for consistent profitability. Even if it's a $1,000 account, I'm only looking to make 10% a month. If I could do that successfully for 90 days or even 60 days if I want to cut it short, then that's when I would go and invest into a challenge account and try and get a reasonable size that wouldn't mess with my trading psychology. Because you can't just expect to go from trading $1,000 to now trading $400,000. Super unrealistic also, right? There's a huge shift in P&L, and there has to be a huge shift in mindset, right? So whatever the case might be is, let's just say I get a 200K account and I make 10%. Call it the company gives you 90%, so you keep roughly $18,000. Right? If you keep those $18,000, I would invest probably 80% of those profits back into my own trading account and then pocket the rest and literally just continue to trade my own capital, continue to trade that funded capital, and refunnel the money that you make from that prop firm into your own personal account until you have a substantial amount of money where it's like, hey, you know what? I have $100,000 in this trading account. My monthly expenses are only literally 5% of whatever my trading account is. If I can make 10% a month, that is more than sustainable, because I can allow 5% to continue to compound while withdrawing 5% to cover my expenses, essentially. Like, I don't think a funded account should be the end-all be-all for a trader. I think it should be what gets them their capital that they need to start their own trading account.
Definitely. No, I couldn't agree more. And in regards to then the coming off the props then, so that's the process you followed, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of your trading now, what sort of risk are you using per trade? What sort of sort of risk to reward model? Are these sort of things you're using?
So right now, like, I've actually went from, because if you look at the FTMO track record that you're looking at, that was the last time I ever bought a challenge account. I had made $40,000 the month prior on FTMO, and then the month after is where I had gotten that $100,000 payout, right? And that was the last time I ever traded funded. So then I was trading a longer term time frame, and I was trading gold. Now I'm trading shorter term time frames, and I'm trading indices, right? So my risk to rewards are a little bit shorter, but my win rate is in the 70%.
Okay.
You know? And right now what I'm really focused on is understanding when to put big money behind certain positions and when to take money off of the table. Literally like risk on, risk off, and really finding those high probability setups so I can go, okay, you know what? I'm gonna put $30,000, $40,000 behind this trade. Hopefully, you know, try and aim for a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio. If I get more than that, fantastic. You know what I mean? Like the 100K days I don't plan for anymore, which my problem that I had in August when I had a 7-figure month was that I was always, you know what, I made 100K today, I'm gonna try and do the same thing again tomorrow. And I got lucky because I was able to do that successfully like 7 out of 8 times, and it played out in my favor. But after I realized like, hey, you know, I made $1 million last month, let's try and do it again this month, I lost $250,000 off of the bat. And that was like, and I lost $250,000 in like 2 or 3 days. And that was like that's the most money I had ever lost trading. And I was like, okay, let's chill. Let's, you know what, let's just relax here, right? Let's lower the risk. Let's build the confidence back up. And then, you know what, we'll see what we do, you know? So nowadays, what I'm really trying to understand about myself and my own trading, especially with my system, because I'm a big supply and demand trader, is what positions I want to put big risk behind and what positions, obviously, I want to take risk off of the table. In terms of like a percentage-based risk, I mean, there'll be some trades where I risk 1 to 2%. There'll be other trades where I'll put like 5, 6, 7% behind that specific position, you know?
Are you able to do that due to the win rate, you know, and understanding the stats?
Yeah, 100%. That gives me all the more confidence. Because my win rate is so high right now is because I've eliminated trading every single day. I don't focus on trading every single day. I focus on trading when there's good opportunity that aligns with my trading system.
Definitely.
That's why my win rate is so high right now.
Definitely. And in terms of like your routine then, when you are on those trading, are you trading an entire session, entire day, or is there specific
Not
times?
even. Like if I don't get a setup before 11 a.m., I most likely won't even take it. Because the market open is at 9:30. That's when you'll find the most volatility. And you have lunchtime around like 12 o'clock, so volume will slow down and then pick back up in the afternoon. If I don't take a position in those first few hours, I'm walking away.
So you're just getting
It's
very
not worth
specific.
it. Yes.
Definitely.
It's non-negotiable for me.
Definitely. And so moving on from that then, you talked about other businesses. What other things are you working on as well?
So, I mean, I have a few educational platforms. So I have a few streams of income from the educational platform. I also have Leveled Up as well. And then I have a couple of little side jobs. Like I invested into a detailing company. I mean, I have crypto investments as well. But in terms of like other businesses, there's a few other businesses that I do want to get into at some point, such as real estate. I made a lot of money actually last year on real estate through my primary home. So I bought my first property, I forgot when. This was back probably like in 2021 during COVID for $830,000. And I sold that same property for about $1 million. I 1031 exchanged it into a property worth $1.4 million. This is all documented on YouTube. This is all public record, obviously as well, because again, like there's a lot of traders online that say like, hey, I just bought this $2 million property, but I know people that live in that same community and that house is a rental for $6,000. And then they got exposed for saying that, hey, I just bought this $2 million property but you're renting it and it's a $15,000 rental. Oh, I'm paying 15 grand to rent here, but in reality, it's a $6,000 rental. So like that's ridiculous that you would even mention you bought a property. Like why not just be honest, transparent with your community? Again, it's all public record. You guys go look at the properties and see that I actually bought this property for this price, sold it for this price. And then I 1031 exchanged it into another property that I bought for 1.4 million, and then I ended up renovating that property, and I resold that property for $2 million.
Did that kind of like spark the
real estate? Yes. I was like, wow. Because I think I put down 20% on the first property, which was roughly $160,000 excluding the closing costs. So I was maybe all in like $200K on that first property. And I mean, imagine I got my $200,000 back plus all of that extra profit, all of that extra equity. And then on top of that, for my second house as well, which was absolutely huge, and actually ended up cashing out on that house. That was one mistake that I feel like I made, because I could have just 1031 exchanged it into another property, not pay any capital gains tax on the profit that I made on that one property, you know? So now that I'm sitting on a lot of cash, after I buy the property for my family, because like again, my family needs a home, which I'm actually working on 2 real estate deals right now for my primary residence. One property is valued at 2.95 million. The other property is valued at 4.8 million. And I'm looking to get into that property, and I really wish I could have 1031 exchanged into there, but you only have 6 months to 1031 exchange into another property. After that, I'm going hard. I'm going hard with real estate. I really want to have multiple different assets under my name, but I have a few different assets. I mean, like even with like my SVJ, you know, that car is worth $1 million, and I think I have like $600,000 in equity in that car alone. So if I ever want to sell it, I'm gonna get $600,000 back from it. Same thing with my watch. You know, the watch is an asset that I could take off right now, go to the guy I bought it from, and I can get $300,000 easy like this. You know, so it's just having different assets and being diversified, and not having all of your money sitting in a checking account, not doing anything for you. You know, it's the same thing as the FTX situation. If your money is in a bank, it's not yours. Versus if I have money in a property, that property is mine. You know, that's a piece of land that I own.
So it's that financial literacy, which kind of leads me on to my next question, which was, you know, at that time you'd saved up 30,000, for example. How important was it always a case you were financially literate, or was it a case in terms of like saving?
It grew with time. It grew with time. I would definitely tell you that. I wouldn't say I was like the most financially responsible person, especially coming into a lot of money at 20 years old. You know what I mean? But it definitely grew with time. And again, now having a family, I'm a lot more responsible. Like I was saying last year too, like I was blowing tens of thousands of dollars. I remember looking at my Amex bill for the year, and I mean, just going out and clubbing and hanging out with friends and drinking and partying, I spent way over $500,000 looking at my American Express statement, you know? So to me nowadays, having a family and looking for more stability, being more responsible, it's like, you know how many properties I could have bought with $500,000? Not even. You know the type of property I could have bought with $500,000? I could have almost bought, again, this $2.95 million property, because the closing costs and everything, I'm looking at $600,000, you know, to get into that property. So it's just like a whole mindset shift because of my family. And I really thank my wife for being there for me alongside the entire way, and really putting me on a straight road again.
Definitely. No, it's incredible to hear.
Yeah.
And it did lead me into the real estate side. Like, is that something then you're looking to educate? Obviously, you are quite apt to, or you already have a level of knowledge, but is it something then that you're researching and learning about more?
Always. I mean, I have a lot of people who are into real estate as well. I also have my real estate agent, who obviously, I mean, he's going to make a commission out of everything that I do in real estate, but he's always guiding me in the best direction. So I'll give you an example, like this property that I'm looking at right now for 2.95. We don't think it's going to appraise for 2.95. We think it's going to appraise for 2.7. And he's basically letting me know, like, this is not something that you don't want to get into, because you could be getting in at this property at the height of the market. And that property was valued at previously 3.3 million, and he lowered it to 2.95, but he doesn't want to accept an appraisal contingency. So the bank will only finance you up to what the appraisal comes out to be. So if the appraisal comes out to 2.7, I have to put down 20% of that 2.7 million on top of covering the difference from what the seller wants to the appraisal. So it's like, is this really a property you want to get into? Because you're looking at getting in for $1 million when we can negotiate the property for 4.8. Say I get it for 4.2. It's gonna cost you roughly the same down payment. The only difference is your mortgage and principal, your principal and interest is gonna be a little bit higher. You know, so it's like, just weigh out your pros and cons and see what you want to do. So I'm looking at my pros and cons right now, and we're really trying to negotiate a deal with the more expensive property, because in the long run it'll hold way more value than the property that's a little bit cheaper.
Definitely. So in essence, coming from a trading background, do you treat real estate deals or even the cars or even the watches, like these investments, do you look at it from an analysis point of view, like risk to reward and
100%. I look at a lot of things as risk to reward. I mean, like certain things such as my watch, right? So this watch cost me $325,000. Wow. I had this same exact watch a year ago, and a year ago I bought it for $450,000, right? So I ended up selling that watch and taking a $25,000 loss, and I sold a lot of my watches and got a lot of my money back. And I sat on cash for a while, and then the watch prices finally dropped, and that's when I started to rebuy back in again, because I believe the retail for this watch was $290,000, and I bought it almost close to retail. And this is a limited piece, but it's not just the watch itself that is an investment; it's also the conversations that the watch starts. The amount of people that I've met at these high-end places, such as these expensive restaurants or different gatherings, it's like, oh, hey, nice watch. It's a great conversation starter. Hey, nice watch. What do you do for a living? You know, then we get into the whole we get into the whole conversation, and possible opportunity can come from that. I know Iman Ghodsi said, you know, even if you have, what was it, $30,000 to your name, you should be able to spend $10,000 on a watch because of what it possibly could do for you.
And you've experienced that already yourself?
100%.
Is the same with the cars as well?
Oh my, yeah, it's just different clubs. I mean, you don't see many SVJs to begin with, and the fact that I have very nice cars. I'm very blessed to be in the position that I'm in, but it's just like the conversation starters with the cars also. Just like why Andrew Tate bought a Bugatti, because he got into the Bugatti club, not because he wanted a Bugatti. It's very similar with the SVJ. Like, you're not going to see $1 million car rolling around the street on average, you know? So whenever I do go to a nice restaurant, there's other people there, right? It's a great conversation starter. Again, oh, hey, you know, it's a beautiful car, absolutely love it. What do you do for a living? You know, and that's when the conversation starts. Like, oh, I can have a few business partners I'd like you to meet, this and that, and you just build your network. And again, like, your network is your net worth.
Definitely. And was it something you were aware of beforehand? Like when you were
coming
up?
No. Beforehand, no. Again, like beforehand, it was just like, I love cars. I'm passionate about cars.
Talking about the passion, I was going to ask you actually, what can you tell me about this? I'm not really into cars at all. I'm not into cars or watches or anything. I'm very naive to it all. So but what is this that we have right next to us?
So this was an exhaust from a Lamborghini STO that I had. I've had a few of those, and again, like, I ended up buying an STO. I've had 3 STOs entirely. I bought my last STO for $375,000, sold it for $100,000 product for $475,000. Wow. So again, like, if you have the right connections and the right relationships, you're only going to be able to get deals like that, because not many people can get deals, especially in today's market, at a car for sticker price, you know? And it's just like the new Lamborghini Revolto coming in. It's the replacement for the Aventador. It's a new hybrid model. It's going to be a V12 hybrid. So Lamborghini is no longer going to be making naturally aspirated cars anymore. And I now have a one of 800 naturally aspirated limited edition V12. So just like in anything, when there's a low supply and a high demand, the value is going to increase, you know? So again, like the SVJ to me is an investment. And when the Revolto gets here, there's going to be such a hype and such a demand for that car that it's going to sell way over sticker, just like the SF90. I bought my SF90 at a super low price, right? At like $680,000, but the previous owner paid $950,000 for that same exact car, the same one I have in my driveway, right? But imagine the guy before him. He bought it at sticker price. Sold it to the other guy for $950,000. He took the depreciation hit, and I bought it for almost $700,000.
So how do you then go about when it is got a higher demand and a higher asking price, and then you're getting offers, no doubt? How do you get your enjoyment out of it, or do you think, okay, this is a good time to sell?
I did sell my last SVJ for it, and it was probably one of the best decisions I made, because the SVJ market, I bought my first SVJ. It was again a Roadster, which are the more limited ones, for $620,000, I believe. And I ended up selling it for $800,000, and I basically rolled all of that equity over into my new SVJ because it was a more limited model. Like, my SVJ has a factory matte blue paint, with a paint job, which is a $20,000 paint job, and there's only 2 in the United States, mine and some other guys, right? And it's a Roadster. So I saw this is a brand new car, 2021. Mine was a 2019 at the time, or 2020. This is a brand new car. It has 800 miles, and it's a limited paint. I'm gonna roll my current money over into this car because this car is going to be more valuable in the long run than my current car, which I'm very glad that I did because my old car is actually for sale. The previous owner sold it, and it's for sale right now for maybe $700,000. So I was able to cash out on my previous SVJ, rolled everything over into this SVJ, and now have positive equity plus the profit from the last SVJ versus just holding that asset. So I try not to get too attached to the cars because when a good opportunity comes up, it may be best to get rid of it. But again, it came down to the analysis at the end of the day is what saved me.
No, definitely. And it's very interesting actually, because as someone again who doesn't really have that knowledge, and I don't think a lot of people probably have the knowledge of getting to that level, because I was actually speaking to Q because he did a tweet about entry-level supercars. We get a lot of backlash from people. But what we kind of summarized was the fact that, you know, most people just see Lamborghini, they just see Ferrari, they know the names. But then, as you said as well, like you weren't aware of these levels and these different levels that come with it, limited edition and so on.
Of course.
Until you're at that level.
Of course.
Right? So then people would assume that, why do you need all these cars and they depreciate in value, you're wasting money. Well,
not at all.
As you've just broken down, it's the opposite.
Again, it's just people talking about something they have no idea about. You know what I mean? But, you know, I kind of do agree with Q's statement because just like to anything, there's an entry level. Just like with Richard Mille, there's an entry level. What's the entry level? An RM10. You get it for $100,000 versus getting a Richard Mille for $300,000. Same thing with supercars. You know, you want to be an entry level supercar guy, there's absolutely no problem with it. But again, it's just different conversation starters. If you have an SVJ parked right next to a Huracan Evo, which essentially is the entry level for Lamborghini, everyone's going to run over to the SVJ. Oh my God, SVJ, 1 of 800. Again, and you have the higher guys, people that have been on these cars, higher net worth individuals, they're going to appreciate the SVJ more because somebody who not just buys the SVJ knows that they have the money to buy the SVJ, but they understand that this SVJ in specific is an asset compared to your Lamborghini Huracan Evo. You know what I mean?
It's very interesting. This is why I love the podcast, though, because I learned so much, and I would be one of those ignorant people, especially not even a while ago, to be fair, probably a year ago. But thanks to the podcast, I've been able to be educated as well, and that's why I love it so much. And I wanted to go back to something. It's a bit going back to almost the beginning. You mentioned obviously going through the health complications during high school, right?
Yeah.
And as you said, you spent a lot of time alone, and a lot of people, and there's a lot of young traders out there who watch the show as well. And, you know, going through those difficult times in high school and when you're at a young age, you're not being able to live the normal life or be able to party or be able to, you know, maybe even have friends, as you said. How did you handle that? You know, what was that experience like?
To me, I mean, I had my little acquaintances. At that time, we would kind of hang out here and there, but I spent the majority of my time literally like locked inside. So my mom had a pantry at her house. She lives in the same house. And I turned that into like my little sanctuary, my little office, right? And it was like literally like, I fit my entire office in the little couch over there, basically. The space was very small, right? I spent all of my time in there literally studying, trading, and when I wasn't doing that and I felt burnt out and I needed a break, because you need a break at times. You know, I would literally just be playing Counter-Strike. That was my life. That was literally my life.
And in terms of like the mindset side of things, because no doubt you probably wanted to do what the normal average your kid was doing or high school kid was doing, but not being able to. How did you handle the mindset side of things as well?
It is what it is. You know what? God put me on this path for a reason. You know what I mean? And I know for sure if I did join the military, I would not be where I'm at today. So I have to thank him thank him and thank myself for trusting in him for putting me on this specific path. You know what I mean? I didn't really experience problem or go out and partied all too much, but that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of those people probably wish they were in the position that I was today, or that I am in today. You know, and I honestly enjoyed my life back then too, you know?
Definitely.
It's not like that I had any regrets. It just, the health issues did suck because once a month I would have to go and get this one medication called Remicade, which was an IV, and oh my God, the pills. I hated the pills. I had to take like 7 or 8 pills every single day, anti-inflammatory, steroids, antibiotics. It was horrible. But I'll never forget, like, the worst part was definitely the Remicade, which was an IV infusion I had to do every single month, and it completely kills your immune system. So I was always getting sick until one day I was like, you know what? I'm sick of this shit. I'm done with it. And ever since then, honestly, like, I've never looked back. And I feel greater than I ever have.
And, I think one thing we can reflect on is that negative almost is kind of what allowed you to be so focused on the trading during that
100%.
time. Then. So then if it wasn't for that, you might not be where you are today.
100%. And again, like, I thank God for everything he's done. Because obviously when I'm in pain, I'm like, why? Why me? You know what I mean? Like, I don't even do anything to begin with. You know, I just stay home and I play video games. You know what I mean? And I literally have to thank him for putting me in the position that I'm at today, because I don't even know if I would have gotten sick if I'd be here today.
Definitely. And then when you see a lot of traders nowadays, as you can imagine, the space has changed so much over the years. Every year it's just growing and growing and growing. And COVID probably, I think, put it onto steroids itself. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Just exploded. I remember being at the summit, speaking to so many people.
I started during COVID.
Exactly, yeah. The majority of people just started in COVID, and it's crazy. And so when you've observed the space and how it's grown in this way, and is there trends that you recognize within traders? I've recognized that a lot of traders aren't, as you said, like you were committed every single day.
Yeah.
And I see the complete opposite nowadays.
Oh, yeah, I see it all the time. I mean, there's different trends that you see within certain, like, groups of people, and you can kind of get a grasp if someone's really going to get there or not, you know?
What would be your advice to those traders that are wanting to get there? What changes can they make?
I mean, just get ready to enter one of the hardest industries you possibly can. It's not easy. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. And you have to literally give it every single ounce of your blood, sweat, and tears if you really want to be successful, because there's different types of success, and depending on the individual, that's up to them what they determine success actually is. But if you want to get to a level where you're literally making hundreds of thousands of dollars on a trade, you have to put every ounce of energy that you have into being successful in this niche. The way I would look at it is, again, like, look at it as getting a regular college degree. Don't think you're going to be successful in 2 years. Don't set expectations. Don't set time on yourself when you should be successful, right? Look at it from a 5-year standpoint. Because what kept me going, honestly, was I would always tell myself the only traders that fail are the ones that quit, right? So if I stayed in the industry for the next 5 years and I give it everything I have, I'd be way better off where I was a year ago. Because you could lose money consistently for the first 4 years, but maybe on that 4th year, 6 months in, you find consistent profitability, and within the next few months, you make all of those losses back plus way more. And again, like, trading is a skill set that once you understand it, because you can never master it, once you understand it and you know how to maneuver around trading and the trading psychology and the different ways in the markets, there's really no cap on your income. And you have to understand, like, trading income also, for those of you guys that are watching, is not something that's always guaranteed. That's okay. And you have to accept that. There could be months where you lose money. There could be months where you break even. There could be months where you make a little bit of money. There could be months where you make tons of money, right? So you also have to accept that as well. And then again, like, the most important thing is not being in a position where you're just trying to make a lot of money quickly. Because if you do that, you're just going to lose a lot of money quickly. And I would definitely say, last but not least, the only way you're going to get better at trading is by understanding and tracking your own performance. And that's literally what's going to excel you. If you could journal your trades and invest into a trading journal software to read your own performance, avoid making the same mistakes, because journaling is only going to allow you to pick up on those bad habits, to pick up on what mistakes you're making. By doing that and avoiding that, you're able to make tweaks to your system on either entries, stop loss methods, take profit methods, or even just your system in general. You're going to be able to excel a lot faster than what you think you're going to be able to accomplish.
Definitely. And I think that's solid advice. Hopefully people take it on board and put it to action. And in regards to people trying to get funded then, and to tackle the challenges, it's a big thing right now.
Huge.
And probably only going to grow even more. But a lot of people struggling, as you said, a lot of people, unfortunately, spending thousands upon thousands trying to do it. What would be your top 3 tips for them?
First, you need to be in a position where you already know how to trade and you can already make money, or at least a pretty consistent return on your investment every single month. Because again, like, depending on the company that you're trading with, doesn't matter if it's with us at Leveled Up or at FTMO, you have a time period. Take your time. You know what I mean? After you're already making money, just take your time with passing the challenge, the verification. I don't know how many companies offer no trading days. I know we offer no trading days. So That's pretty easy, but honestly, it really just comes down to already knowing how to trade. If you don't know how to trade, if you're not already good at trading, if you don't make money trading, don't even think about taking a funded challenge. But if you are, then again, just focus on the risk management and don't look at a funded account as like your end all, be all, because it's not, right? Look at your funded account as a way to actively invest into your own personal trading account.
No, definitely. And yeah, there's a lot of people saying nowadays, there's a little tone in the market of like, oh, trading could go away, right? I don't know if you've seen anything like this or heard anything like this, but what are your thoughts on that?
Trading has been around since probably the beginning of time. You know, people trade their time for money. People trade cows for chickens, you know, gold coins for property. You know, trading's been around since the beginning of time. Now, the type of trading that we do today, I don't think it's ever going to go away. If fiat currency does go away, then obviously everything's going to be digital currency, which people trade cryptos all the times. But you could still go actively trade companies, trade stocks, trade index funds, trade cryptos. You know, the most important thing that I've learned is, again, I started trading Forex. I don't trade Forex anymore. I trade indices. The knowledge that I have from trading Forex, I was able to transfer that into trading indices. I could just switch my environments while making different tweaks to essentially the assets that I'm trading. And I'm exactly the same, making probably, honestly, I'm making even more money now after I've made the switch. It's just little tweaks that you have to do, and that, again, only comes with understanding with the career that you're involved in.
No, definitely. I couldn't agree more. I love that, because I think it just comes down to people being emotional. It's the same 100%. Thing of fear and greed, and that's the fear side,
100%.
And in regards to, obviously, you've reached a very high level of success, and how do you keep yourself from getting complacent? How do you stay motivated?
Honestly, now it was just like, well, first, I don't ever find myself in a position where I'm like, I'm good here. I'm done. You know, the more money I have, it's just the more peace of mind that I have for me and my family. Now, my motivation today is my family to continue to push me forward, to continue to be able to provide the best quality of life that I can for my family. That's one thing that people probably don't understand is like having more money isn't automatically going to make you happier, but the higher quality of a life you have will make you happier, you know? So that's one thing that keeps me motivated, honestly, and just keeps me pushing.
Amazing to hear. And one last question, and then I'll do a quick fire question, which is the last question being, you said last year about the partying, right? Was there a correlation between the lifestyle outside of the charts and the results on the charts?
100%. 100%. I know I could have made so much more money last year, because last year was a great year for me. I did a little over 2.5 trading, but almost 50% of that was in a month after I stopped partying, because I found out my wife was pregnant that same month. You know,
the motivation, the drive.
Yeah. I found out my wife was pregnant that same exact month. That's where I had my first 7-figure month in trading. But I mean, I'm telling you, I was out partying every single week, probably 4 times a week at times, just getting drunk. It killed my motivation to get on the charts. And honestly, that's when a lot of the times I was either just break even or I made a little bit of money, or luckily I didn't incur like huge losses. But now that I'm more set in stone, like this year alone, I'm already at 2.5 million. Wow. Probably a little bit less than 2.5 million, but we're halfway through the year and I'm already at what I entirely made last year. And that's just from trading income and on a spread of different portfolios, you know, which is a blessing that I've been able to be put into this position. But again, I have to thank a lot of it to my wife and my family.
It's incredible. And just a little sort of side question off that. Even though you're consistent, do you ever have times where you make like human error, like just a little mistake?
Of course. I mean, just like we discussed previously, after I had my $1 million month, I lost $250,000 off the bat because I was too overconfident and I was sizing up too quickly. I think the biggest mistake that I made this year, I mean, I've made other mistakes that I've made money, but I've understood them as mistakes. Like I had this $186,000 day trading the NASDAQ recently, like two weeks ago, I believe. I traded outside of session looking for a swing when I never trade outside of session. But I saw the opportunity there, and I was just lucky that the probabilities played out in my favor. If not, I would have lost 20 grand, but I was okay with losing those $20,000. I accepted that $20,000 loss before it even happened, you know, which makes trading just so much easier. That's, again, human error where it paid off in my favor, but there's other times that it hadn't paid off in my favor Like I remember, again, like I normally never trade past 12. I took a trade past 12 o'clock. It was like at 12:30. It was after, what economic data was it? I forgot what it was. I think it was PPI or a Fed speaker. It was one of the two. I traded after that, and I ended up losing like $30,000 on that position within like 3 or 4 trades, which is ridiculous because I should have never lost that money to begin with because I shouldn't have even been trading at 12:30. The fuck was I doing trading at 12:30? I always cut it off at 11. You know. So again, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Human error. It's gonna happen. I'm human at the end of the day. You know.
That's it. No, I love that. And so we do like quick fire questions at the end, but I'll just give you the one that is reoccurring because I already asked quite a bunch of them already.
Yeah.
Which is just if you could meet anyone in the past or in the present, you know, famous or not, you know, just to spend time with and learn from, who would it be and why?
Man, if I could meet anybody, listen, I'm a religious guy. If I could meet anybody, I would meet Jesus Christ. 100%.
Definitely. I think we know 100%. Why as well already.
Yeah, of course. Everyone would know why.
I'm going to ask you one more, actually. Just because we did the interviews on the boat. I didn't get to catch you.
Yeah,
but there's one question we were asking, which is, if there was a charity boxing fight in the trading space, and you could pick one influencer to fight, who would it be?
Oh, man. One influencer to fight. There's already a couple at the top of my head, to be honest with you. I don't want to call anybody out. Man.
This is the one question that's got him stuck. The one question. It could be a friend. It's for charity at the end of the day.
For charity, I don't know. I'm looking around. Yeah. You know what? If it's for charity, I would have a friendly sparring match with my boy AB.
AB, yeah?
Yeah.
There we go.
My boy
We
AB.
got it. That was a hard one. that was the hardest question of the thing.
That was a hard one. I had some real answers to it, but
I know.
Yeah.
This is the thing with the trading space. This is why we need it. I think it will help the trading space. You know, I think
people have told me that before too. Like, let's
Honestly,
set it up.
We're gonna do it. This is
That'd
why
be
I'm asking the
crazy.
question because I'm planting the seeds around. But Raul, thank you very much for hosting us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, and I'll make sure your links are in the description below as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was an honor being on here.
No, it was my honor completely. But thank you, everyone. Make sure you subscribe. Let us know your biggest takeaway in the comments below. And until next time, take care.